Introduction and Forensic Applications of Stereomicroscopes by Shastasia White. The stereomicroscope is an efficient forensic examination tool that can be used to magnify and observe the surface details of a sample. It is composed of several components, which include the eyepiece, magnification changer, fine and coarse focusing knobs, and a luminaire transmitted light. Each of these parts has an important function which makes it beneficial to use in forensic examinations. The magnification changer allows a closer view of the sample with the increasing of the magnification. The binocular eyepiece allows each eye to see a sample simultaneously. It can be adjusted so that an analyst can get a complete view of a sample. The microscopic image of the microscope can be compared to the human eyes, by which a three-dimensional image is visualized. When viewing a sample under the stereomicroscope, as the magnification increases, the resolution also increases, but the depth of field will decrease. The fine and coarse focusing knobs on the stereomicroscope are used to move the microscope up and down in order to focus on a sample. These knobs, as well as the magnification changer, are located on both sides of the stereomicroscope. In order to see a sample, the stereomicroscope uses transmitted light. The light apparatus can be included on the microscope, or it can originate from another source. The samples being viewed will reflect light, and the reflected illumination will create a 3D image that can be seen through the binoculars or on an adjacent camera that's connected to a computer. An important characteristic of stereomicroscopes that is also beneficial in forensics is the large working distance. Samples that cannot be viewed by a compound microscope due to their size can be seen under the stereomicroscope, with room to allow analysts to manipulate a sample. To put these components to use, several forensic applications can use the stereomicroscope to its advantage. These applications include forensic engineering, fractography, and trace examination. Forensic engineering is applied when a person is harmed or there is damage to someone's possessions due to the failure of a material to operate properly. An example of applying stereomicroscopes in forensic examination is the examination of a failed lamp filament. A normal burnout of an aged lamp filament will appear to be sad and will have either tapered bald or teardropped ends. If a force is applied to a lamp filament when it's cold, it will then cause a fracture of the lamp filament. For example, observance of the lamp filament using the stereomicroscope can help to determine the reason for failure if it is a result of a crash collision. In fractography, the stereomicroscope is applied in order to study the surface fracture details of a material. Under the stereomicroscope, fractures and striations and/or bends from a fracture of the material such as glass can be observed and used to indicate the location and direction a force of an object was applied to a sample. These findings can help to reconstruct the crime scene. In trace examination, the surface details are observed and used to help identify a sample using the stereomicroscope. Depending on the manufacturer, the sample possesses unique characteristics, and this can be beneficial to the analyst in the identification of a sample. For example, the layers of paint will differ depending on the manufacturer's procedure for making a paint sample. The layers that consist in the makeup of glitter can also be observed using stereomicroscopes. Hair strands can also be examined under a stereomicroscope. The surface details of hair seen through a stereomicroscope can assist in determining the difference between human hair and animal hair, but no inclusion can be made upon these observations. Here, the human and bear hair both appear straight, but the bear hair has class characteristics of alternating cuts that are seen on the hair strand. Also in trace examination, unknown samples can be identified by observing the surface details. Here the unknown appear to have a white fluffy substance that surrounds a black crystalline object. The unknown can be compared to known samples to determine its identity. The unknown in this sample were identified to contain soap powder and graphite. For all forensic applications by which the stereomicroscope can be applied, the microscope is an efficient tool that will enhance the surface view of a sample. The stereomicroscope is a relatively simple microscope that will allow for easy manipulation of a sample with a clear 3D visualization.